So, all right. So tell me when we're live.
We're live.
Okay. Are we going to be live yet?
We are live.
When do we start to record? This is how we start. This is a ritual.
Hi. Hi. We have one viewer.
I know who that is
God.
because I'm talking with in a chat room in another window.
Hello and welcome to Handgun Radio. I'm your host, Ryan Bachad from the wild woods of central Maine, and this is your home for all the news, information, and discussion in the handgunning world. This week, we discuss new gun purchases and new Old West handguns. That's what we said, right?
I don't know.
As always, this show is brought to you by the Firearms Radio Network. Please check out the Patriot Patch Company for their awesome patches and other high-quality items. Visit patriotpatch.co for more information. And as always, shop Amazon using our affiliate link, firearmsradio.tv/Amazon. And please help support Handgun Radio. Head over to firearmsradio.tv/pledge and click on HGR. There are a bunch of different pledge levels, and we really appreciate it. So, Weird, how's it going?
I'm doing pretty good, Ryan. How about you?
Oh, you have a new gun.
I have a new gun. Yep. I did. Took a trip to the range, and I was like, you know what? I'm almost out of 45, and I've been almost out of 9. I don't shoot a ton of 9, and I said, well, I should go remedy that. And there's a local shop that does a lot of bulk selling, and so you can buy ammo by the case there. And I went there, and yeah, I'll go look at his gun counter. He doesn't have much of a gun counter, though. Every time I go into the shop, I always seem to buy a gun. And he had a Remington Nylon 66, which was just one of those guns that I've been wanting. I just want to have one. And this was one of the better prices that I've seen in a while. So I said, you know what? It's going to have to come home with me. I was hemming and hawing, like, do I buy it? I mean, it's just 22 carbine. I'm not really that crazy about 22 carbines. And I'm like, I know I'm just going to go home and then I'm going to call him up and say, hey, do you still have it? Just hold it for me. I'll be back. I've done that so many times. Come back from a gun shop and go, oh, like wake up the next morning and I'm like, nope, it's not getting any better. I still want it. You know what? Call him up, have him put it behind the counter, and you'll go get it after work.
So talk a little bit about it. What's the we haven't really ever discussed this gun at all on the show.
Oh yeah, it's like one of the first, like, I guess the receiver's partially metal. I haven't taken it apart, and I've heard that that's ill-advised. But it's this one's the Apache Brown, and it was one of the first guns to use the extensive use of polymers in it. It's got a polymer stock, and the insides are mostly polymer. It loads through a tube magazine in the butt, and it was actually one of the first real firearms I ever shot.
So let's see here. In the 1950s, Remington was interested in designing a rifle that was cheaper to produce, determined to be savings in the receivers and stocks of the rifle. So let's see. Nylon 66 proved to be successful. Largely synthetic construction, mean it can operate without any added lubricants.
Supposedly.
Supposedly. Made it popular in Arctic regions. And let's see. Leaf sights and a grooved receiver that could accommodate a telescopic sight. Was available in several colors such as Mohawk Brown, Apache Black, and Seneca Green.
Yeah, I got the brown one. I would have loved to have had the green one. That's the one that I would really want. But you know what? This is the brown one, which is my second choice. And yeah, they've just got a nice distinctive look about them, and I just always thought they were cool.
They built 1 million of them, a little over 1 million.
Doesn't surprise me. There are a lot of, I see them all the time, but it just seems like the prices keep going up. And today, this one, it's in really nice shape. And yeah, it was reasonable. It wasn't dirt cheap. I started seeing him when I first bumped into him in the gun shops, and I'm like, oh man, that's really inexpensive. But didn't realize I wanted it so much until the price started going up. And then I'm like, oh man, I should have got one when they were really cheap.
Produced from 1959 to 1989. That's quite a production run.
but still, I mean, 22 carbines tend to have really good production runs anyway. I mean, what about the Marlin Model 60 or the Ruger 1022?
True, but I mean, do you think of the Model 60 and the 1022, and is the next gun you think of Nylon 66? I mean, usually all I think of is either the Model 60 or the 1022. That's it.
Yeah, those are definitely the
Nylon 66 is one if you're like kind of a gunny.
Yeah, I mean, I always think about it because, like I said, the my buddy's younger brother, that was his 22 carbine, and they were the guys that taught me how to shoot, and so it's one of those. That's what we started off with, is 22 rifles, and he handed me his nylon 66, and yep, shot the crap out of some tin cans.
Well, I did not do much this week. I cleaned up my reloading area, so I'm hopefully going to be doing more of that this winter. I am in severe need of some revolver loads, especially wad cutters. I have a bunch of wad cutters I want to load up, so that'll be fun. But I had a listener email, and this kind of pertains to you, Weird. This was from listener Justin, and he said, Ruger LCR for pocket carry. Love the show. Look forward to every episode. Currently carry a CZP07 in the waistband, and I'm looking into pocket carrying some sort of firearm. I'm very drawn to the Ruger LCR in 38 or 327 Federal Magnum, but not sure how it would work as a pocket carry gun in regards to size. I realize an LCP or a Car CW380 might be a better might be a leaner footprint, but I do like the LCR, and I would like to have a double action revolver. I seem to remember Weird is fond of his 357. Would love to hear both of your opinions. I'm 6'4", and I weigh 190 pounds, if that helps.
That does help. I mean, I would argue that for a man with, I mean, most of the time I'm wearing blue jeans, and I can fit a James frame size revolver, including my 357 LCR, in the front pocket all day long, no problem. And actually, I would even go so far as say, I don't know. I mean, you've got an LCP, so you could talk more about pocket carrying of that. But I'm almost be of a mind that the LCP might even be like a little, definitely the CW380 might be a little too small for pocket carry.
The LCP, I mean, I don't even feel it in my pocket. I damn near forget that I'm carrying it.
Yeah, and the CW380 is even smaller than that.
No, they're roughly about the same size.
Are they about the same size? I thought the CW380s look awfully small.
It might be a little bit bigger, to be honest with you. When I carried it, because I carried one in Nashville for NRA 2015. That's what TJ loaned to me while we were down there. And that gun, I mean, was fantastic. I think it's a little bit bigger because I remember like fondling that gun, figuring it out, and being like, this feels a lot more shootable than an LCP. At least in I didn't get any actual trigger time on it, but I really felt like that car was a lot more shootable, or would have been, than an LCP.
Is there a smaller 380 than that? Than the CW
in the car lineup?
Yeah.
Not that I'm aware. And it had damn good sights too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure they were dovetailed right in too.
Yep.
Compared to what the LCP has. But I mean, in terms of, so you can pocket carry that 357, no problem.
That's the only way I carry it. I have a Remora holster that I can carry it inside the waistband, and I have a little bit, but overall I just drop it in the front pocket.
I think a lot of people doubt it just because you look at that gun and you look at something like a J frame, which looks more traditional. And even though the LCP, or the LCR rather, has a little bit more of an unconventional look to it, it's still roughly the same size as your traditional snubby.
I'm carrying it in my J frame holster that I bought for my 642. So yeah, it's nearly identical. I think the butt's a little bit longer, and I mean longer as in deeper. It doesn't add to the overall length is the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's probably the biggest pocket gun, because the other pocket gun I have is my PM45, and that gun weighs more than the LCR, but it's a little bit shorter in overall length and the same in overall height. So it's fine. I mean, it's pushing the edge of the size for pocket carry, and depends on what type of clothes you wear. I mean, I've got some like cargo pants or cargo shorts that I occasionally wear where the pocket is not deep enough for that gun, and the butt will stick out just a little bit out of the top of the pocket. I mean, in theory, or not even like stick out, but be just below the surface of the pocket. So like if you were standing behind me, like at a checkout counter line, you would be seeing the butt of the gun down in my pocket. So it's pushing the limits, but I think it's perfectly reasonable. But it's certainly the LCP in the car would just disappear in the pockets. I mean, I would say, I would even go look a step up, is if that's a little bit too big and you're carrying a P07, so you're carrying a 9mm, why don't you look at a car CM9?
Like I have.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little bit, it's a little bit, the PM45 is a little bit smaller than a J frame. That's a little bit smaller than a PM45, but it's still bigger than an LCP, a Car 380. It's rated for 9mm plus P. So even if you're carrying plus P loads in the P07, it'll probably eat whatever your carry ammo is. So you don't need to worry about stocking different ammo. That might be a good idea for a light gun. And of course, there's also the SIG 365 that everybody loves. Probably get one, and it'll probably become my primary pocket carry gun, because I mean, it's just, how can you argue with a gun that's the size of that, car, CM45, car CM9, but carries 10 rounds. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
And if you're thinking about 38 or 327, I mean, I would say neither. I would go 357. There is a negligible size difference, isn't there?
There is no size difference in any of them. They're all exactly the same size as far as I know. And there might be millimeters of width on the across the cylinder. But I would definitely say, no, I wouldn't. I would just say don't get the 38 LCR. I would say get the 357. You don't have to carry it with 357s. You can load it up with 38s. But you have the option. It's got a little bit more weight, which will make everything a little bit better, but not. My phone rings.
If it was like, I just like, if I'm going to carry something, if I can load 357s in it, I am just going to get like the heaviest, hottest 357 loads I possibly can. And I mean, yeah, I understand. Okay, well, muzzle flash and it may not get up to speed and blah, blah, blah. But I just want to throw the heaviest bullet I possibly can out of that gun.
Yeah. I mean, I would say I kind of like the ballistics of the 327 Magnum.
But go to Walmart and try to find a box.
No, that's the big issue, is that it's a really cool round that never took off.
Or even go to your local gun store and try to find a box. I'm pretty sure if I went to my local gun shop, and they're the most helpful people in the world, unless it's Cabela's, you're going to have a hard time finding that.
And on top of that, you've got the, you could shoot the downloaded the 32 H&R Magnum. Good luck at finding that too. That's a really obscure round.
I mean, yes, you may get an extra round. But
yeah, again, I like the 327 Magnum because it's got really, really good ballistics. Supposedly, I've never shot one, but supposedly the recoil impulse is really nice. As a general rule, going lighter in projectile you tend to cheat a little bit, so to speak, as far as felt recoil versus muzzle energy. But it's still a big enough bullet. There's the 110 grain load, which is what I would go for. I'd want to be over 100 grains.
Aren't there some 90 grain loads?
Yeah, Yeah.
Okay, so I just carry 180 grain 357, and I've basically did 2 327s, right?
Essentially. Essentially. I mean, I guess you could definitely say that, but it's a cool round. I like the fact that you managed to get that extra load, because again, one extra round, switching over from, a 45 1911 to a 9mm 1911, and I get, one more round in the magazine. Is that really putting me at any big advantage? No, not really. One more round in a 5-shot J frame to a 6-shot J frame, that's a big difference. Is it worth all the trouble that's 327? Probably not. Probably not. If you want extra capacity, get the what is it? Is it 6-shot? Yeah, no, it's only, you only get 6 shots in the 22 Winchester Magnum one, and I really wouldn't do that. That's not worth it either. But yeah, I would say the 357, it gives you the option. You can always shoot 38s in it, but
well, and if this was like a 340 PD from Smith and Wesson we were talking about, we'd say, yeah, no, don't, just don't.
And also on top of that, all right, if you're looking at the 340 is the hammerless, right?
I don't know. The 340 is the hammer on your hand.
Yes, I think the 340 is the hammerless one, and so the 642 would be the 38 version of that. That 642 is going to be almost half the price of the 340, and so I mean, it is going to hammer your hand. It is going to be one of the most unpleasant handguns in the entire world to shoot. So it's I wouldn't go there. But the Ruger LCR, they all cost the same.
Right, but if we did that experiment that we did in the video, and there's a video on the YouTube channel of me shooting Weird's LCR where I put 4 rounds of 38 and then one of the heaviest 357 hand loads he has. And while it was a lot more snappy, it really was not unmanageable.
No, try doing that. It didn't catch you by surprise. You didn't embed the front sight in your forehead.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I highly recommend the 357 for. Yeah, so I recommend that. That's right. The best choice. All right, and if you think it's too big, I mean, honestly, go wear your regular pants and go to a gun shop and drop it in your pocket. They're not going to care. Just say, do you mind if I put this in my pocket just to see if it fits? You don't even need to worry about a holster. Like if it's uncomfortably big, or it's a little snug, or a little too big for your pocket, or almost close, well, then the holster is going to take up more space. But if it just drops into the pocket and you're like, oh, that fits perfectly, then yeah, just get a holster and get the gun. Otherwise, yeah, look for like a 9mm semi-auto, because I mean, carrying a 380 is cool, but I mean, you're a big dude, 6'4", 190. You can conceal a pocket 9 very easily, and they're just going to disappear in your pocket.
So what's your drink segment this week?
So I found this drink just a few weeks ago. It's called the White Empress Cocktail. And obviously it's a good drink. Otherwise I wouldn't be talking about it. This one composes of 2 ounces of rum. They say light rum. I would just make sure it's a nice barrel aged rum. You kind of want your richest, butteriest rum for this. It seems to work very well for that. 1 ounce Saint Germain. I go with the Saint Elder, which is one of my favorite liqueurs to mix with. And 1.5 ounces of grapefruit juice. And let me tell you, it's really, really tasty, but that's not what I'm drinking right now. I am drinking that recipe, but instead of using rum, I'm using gin, and that just puts it over the top. And I believe I might've talked about it in the show when I was visiting a friend. she made a cocktail for me that was, I think, essentially this, that was grapefruit juice, Saint Germain, gin, and she was muddling basil in it, and that worked really, really well. I would try that tonight, but it's wintertime in Massachusetts, and my basil is frozen and dead.
You think it's frozen down there?
Oh yeah, I got to imagine.
Did it snow down there yesterday?
No,
Yeah,
it did
well, it
not.
snowed up here.
No, it just rained and poured, and then everything froze solid.
I woke up Saturday morning to snow all over everything.
Did it stick or did it just disappear?
Yeah, it took a while.
But you didn't
I
shovel
almost fell on my ass on my back deck. That was real fun. Yeah, I was like, oh, it's fine. Nothing melted. Everything melted. It's cool. I walk out there and damn near fall down.
Oh, I'm so sad I missed that.
Oh, yeah, don't worry. It'll be coming your way soon.
I had my back steps redone, and I stepped out onto them when the carpenter had built the platform and the steps so we could use the door again, but had not put up the railing yet. And I stepped on it, and it was all glaze ice. And I'm like, okay, I'm sliding. Now what do I do?
And Weird Beard needs a hip replacement.
Yes.
Excellent. So with that, we'll head into the main topic: Old New West handguns. So this was something kind of cool. I was kind of on a Red Dead Redemption kick, as if you already have not noticed.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured we could talk about some handguns that would be available circa like 1899 to 1902. So let's say you're old guy, got a bowler hat, big old nice mustache, walking into a gun shop. It's 1901. You want something for personal protection. What is available to you? What do you pick? So Weird. Before we get into the guns that are available, what do you think you'd pick? Well, what do you think you'd pick first? Then we'll talk about them and let's see if that changes your mind.
So, I mean, part of me wants to be like, super duper gun hipster, and I'm thinking about like what semi-auto pistols were available at the time and all that, because I mean I'm a semi-auto guy. And then my next thought was what double action revolvers.
Okay, maybe we rewind here. First off, what is your style of dress?
My style of dress.
So at the time you have, obviously you have like your cowboy and everything, but you're moving into the technological era. People are dressing a little bit more dapper. So are you wearing a shoulder holster? Are you wearing a hip holster? Are you just putting something like discreetly in a pocket? So what would be your 1900 loadout? Let's put it that way. Depending upon what style of dress you think you would have.
I think I'd still probably go with a shoulder holster. I love shoulder holsters so much. I'd probably dress pretty much the same as I do today. I'd probably see me walking around with a pair of blue jeans, a shirt, and a barn coat.
Okay, this isn't going to be like Back to the Future where he's like, Jesus, why are you wearing the life preserver? You have to wear the right clothes.
Just about all of my clothes existed back then as well. They had flannel shirts and barn coats. And
you're probably going to be wearing a vest and a shirt and a pocket watch.
Well, I probably would be wearing a pocket watch because they didn't have smartphones.
How could I check Facebook?
Yeah. But no, I probably wouldn't be super dapper. I mean, that's just my general philosophy is, I mean, nice clothes are nice and they're good, but I don't like anything that like stuff gets dirty. I'll end up getting dirt or sauce or something.
Okay, so you'd probably be wearing a shoulder rig at least, but you got to remember too, you don't have to concern yourself with like carry laws, really.
Yeah, that's true.
As long as it's hidden.
And so I might end up be wearing a belt gun. I don't know. I guess it all decides, but I think if I had a choice, and I definitely go with like the bowler hat. Why not? But I think I'd probably end up going for something like the single action army or the Smith & Wesson Schofield.
See, I'm a little bit different. I'm thinking I would kind of go European I really like those bulldog revolvers.
Oh, the
Those little
bulldogs are
snubby
nice.
bulldogs. Like, you can just tuck that away somewhere. That might be a backup gun. And then maybe something fancy, maybe one of the semi-autos, but I might go with a Merwin Hulbert.
The Merwin Hulberts were
It's
awfully
it's
cool.
it's kind of 1 foot in one era and 1 foot in the other. It's 1 foot in the single action era, but it's also really technologically advanced.
Yeah, but they're also not the most common things, and
Right.
parts and availability and people who know how to work on them. That would be my big concern, especially if you're in the old west. It's one thing with like me living just outside of Boston, Massachusetts. Yeah, if one of my guns breaks, I can get it fixed. It's not a problem.
And that might have been the considerations, because when you think about it, to me, I've always wondered, like, when you have something like the Smith and Wesson Model 3 available, where you can just break it open and have all the rounds get kicked out and just drop your new rounds in.
Mhm.
Why on earth would you pick something that is a gate loader? And there's got to be a reason for that. And I think that it might be, when you're out in the out in the frontier or whatever, maybe the single action army is a little bit easier to repair.
Yeah, I think it's a simpler design. I mean,
right.
I'm not an expert in single action guns, but I've just that auto ejector on the Model 3, that there's a lot to go wrong there. And another big issue was that the Model 3 was in a 45 Schofield as opposed to 45 Colt.
Right.
And one of the advertised Colt dove right into it and pointed out the fact that, hey, if you buy our Colt revolver, not only can you feed it our Colt ammunition, because of course back in this era anyway, when you bought a gun, the name of the name of the ammo was on the back. That's just why 9mm Parabellum, but it's also called 9mm Luger, and also why the Browning, the Colt 1902 was in 32 ACP, but the Browning, what was the 32 Browning in equivalent? Was it was that the Browning 1908? I don't know. There was a Browning one on the other side, but that was in 7.65 Browning, same caliber. But
there was one that was in. They had I can't remember the name of it, but it was in 7.65 Browning long or something like that.
Oh, that was the
or 9mm Browning long.
Yeah, the 9mm Browning long. That was a super obscure gun that was used by James Bond in License Renewed, if I remember correctly.
Oh, now I got to figure that out.
But they often had. It was the big thing was if your gun was also the Colt New Service, the 38 Colt. Was it 38 Colt New Service? I can't remember the name of it, but Colt essentially renamed 38 Smith & Wesson into in their own caliber, just because
38 long Colt or something, or 38 short Colt.
Yeah, and so that people wouldn't get confused putting Colt ammunition into a Smith & Wesson ammunition into a Colt revolver, versus now, Sig Sauer just makes a whole line of stuff. So you can buy 9mm Luger made by Sig.
So the 9mm Browning long, it's actually kind of interesting you mentioned that, because it was developed in 1903 for the FN model 1903, which is different from the Colt 1903.
Yes.
9mm Browning long is 9x20, where you have 9x19 for 9mm Parabellum. 110 grain bullet at 1,000 feet per second.
Jeez, that's not bad
for 1903. That's a damn good round.
Yeah, I didn't quite. And it's a straight blowback pistol, I believe.
108 grain bullet at 1,150 feet per second.
Jeez, that's not bad at all.
So that's pretty good for an early. I mean, but now it's obsolete. But
but no wonder James Bond carried it.
Yeah, apparently that was one of the earliest. One of the earlier Browning cartridges.
Yeah, but that cartridge,
But that pistol was very familiar. That pistol was like a scaled up 1903 pocket hammerless.
yes.
If you look at it.
And I believe, yeah, that was how it was. No, I think it was striker fired though. Hard to tell.
Daniel says, I still want a modern Smith & Wesson M-frame Ladysmith, scaled for a 5-shot 327 Magnum, a 6-shot 22 Magnum, and a 7-shot 22 long rifle.
I have got to say that, like, smaller framed revolvers is something that the ammo makers, gun makers need to come up with.
I was going to say that Daniel has to be a gun design mercenary.
Yes.
And hire himself out.
Yeah. I'll do it for you, but it'll cost you.
Gun design mercenary. Make a business card, Daniel.
So yeah, so I don't know if the Colt was more popular just because it worked well. They just had more market share, more people carried Colts, and so therefore more people carried Colts, and just how it is. And it's just like Glock. Is Glock the best striker fired gun, in the world? No. And no one's going to say it's the absolute best. It's fine. It's great. It's not bad. If it was bad, it wouldn't be sticking around. But because they cornered the market so well, even when, like Smith & Wesson was coming out with the M&Ps and had all the interchangeable back straps. So now you could adjust the size of the grip in your hands. The Glock was still winning out overall in it. And they kind of lazily came up with their interchangeable back straps later on with that next generation. So it's, it could just be that Colt just established it and kind of set the market. And once you set the market, yeah, it's just going to be there as a benchmark no matter what happens.
So what kind of cartridge are you thinking? Let's say you're doing your old West loadout.
Mm-hmm.
What cartridge are you thinking? Are you going for rifle pistol compatibility, or are you going for, like, I just want the biggest, baddest friggin' throwing the chunk of lead down there round that you can get?
Oh, see, that's a tough one to say too, because I don't know like what it was like to live in the Old West, like how easy. I'm right now. I'm not.
Realistically, let's say 4440 is probably one of the rounds that you're going to encounter the most.
I mean, 4440 is a pretty awesome
45
round.
Colt really was 45 Colt, for all the credit that we give it. I think 4440 probably was the most prevalent.
Yeah. And just the fact that it's the most prevalent. I mean, like I said, we just talked, listener Justin down from 327 Magnum, even though I say it's a great cartridge, but at the same time, it's gonna be hard to find.
Right.
So if I love 45 Colt, like naturally I would just gravitate to 45 Colt. I think that's a great round. I think it'll do a whole lot of everything. But, at the same time, I'm also a guy of the, if I'm going to be also carrying a carbine around with me or a rifle, I'd kind of like that to be in a rifle caliber.
Well, and 4440 is a damn good round.
It is a very good round. It is a very good round. I think I like 45 Colt a little bit better though.
We're looking at a .427 bullet. Let's see. 225 grain lead bullet moving at 1,000 feet per second.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing listed under 200 grains, man. And they're all moving pretty quick.
Yep.
I mean,
oh no, I would not sneeze at it. And again, if I walked into any gun shop and found that they had piles and piles of 4440 and it was affordable, and 45 Colt was not as affordable or available, I would absolutely be diving for 4440. But given my druthers, 45 Colt, I would love to have it. And then for a rifle, I would go with something a little bit bigger.
Well, and with 45 Colt, you skip that slight bottleneck that's on that 4440.
Yep. Yeah, like I'd go 45 Colt and or 45 Schofield actually, because I think I still would like the Smith & Wesson Schofield, and I would go with in my rifle. I would go with the what was that Winchester rifle that Teddy Roosevelt had that was in 4570?
Oh, the 1886.
Yeah, because 4570. Oh God, and that's would be an easy round to find. That's going to be everywhere.
Oddball just asked a good question. He said, "Wonder if there was a big price difference between the Colt Single Action Army and the Schofield."
I bet you it was. I bet you the Schofield was more expensive, just because it's just look at how much it would take to make that. I mean, the fact that the frame is in two pieces.
Wish I could find the cost.
It's gonna be tough, especially the 1899 cost of those guns.
Well, yeah, I mean, all of us drool when we look at the surplus catalogs here. Like, oh yeah, you could have a Carcano for $6.
Yeah. Or a towed piece of howitzer for $85.
Here's a Steyr Solothurn for shoot anti-tank rounds for $50.
God, those are hilarious. Or the Ivor Johnson revolvers. You could get the base model for $10, but you can upgrade it for $5. So $15.
So I'm thinking before we continue, we should do some sort of a contest here. Send us in your Old West loadout, pistols, and backup guns, and outfits, because we need to know your outfits too. Mm-hmm. And from all the entries, we'll pick one of the entries and we'll do some sort of a giveaway or something.
Oh, my backup gun would be a Smith & Wesson Model 1. Because
you want a 22 backup gun when you can get something cool like a Smith & Wesson double action or hammerless, safety hammerless? In 38 okay. Smith & Wesson?
Okay, I'd go with a stick of dynamite.
A stick of dynamite. Oh my God. So what about some of the semi-autos? We haven't really talked about those much.
Yeah. So let's see. The Luger was around. I was ignorant enough of it's called the P08. That's too late for us. But
yeah, no, it actually was started. What was it? 1896. Yeah, hold on. 1898. So, because I remember hearing about Tom Horn on an episode of Wild West Tech. Mm-hmm. He was captured after shooting. He was on a hill. He was trying to capture a bounty, and he was supposed to shoot the father, and he accidentally shot the son, who was wearing the father's hat. Mm-hmm. And that's the way the story goes, apparently. And he was arrested and was in jail for it. He tried to escape, and he grabbed a pistol out of the safe of the guy who was guarding him, or somehow, and couldn't figure it. Almost shot one of the deputies and couldn't figure out how to operate the pistol, and ended up getting captured because of it. And supposedly it was a Luger.
What did you say? They listed it as a Belgian Luger, or?
No. When I first saw the episode, they said it was a Luger. And then I tried to look online for some sort of corroboration, and they said, well, it could have been a Belgian semi-auto of some type. But the early Lugers did have a grip safety. So I don't know if he didn't figure that out or something, but it would make sense.
Yeah.
I don't know what the import situation was at that time. I mean, you got to remember, if something happens in Europe back in the day, especially, it's going to take a while for that stuff to make it over here, but it very well could have.
Yep. And just the idea that it's a semi-auto pistol. So there's button mag release. There's a whole bunch of different stuff on it that's not on a revolver. And so learning how to use that, like, actually, I remember just being like a little kid looking at like pictures of guns and like going, all right, they talked about these pistols have safeties. I've seen people talk about safeties in the movies. Well, where's the safety? And here you look at it. Well, there's the mag release, and there's the slide release, and there's the safety lever and all that. And one of these does something.
Right. So I mean, it's very plausible that he could have picked up, even if it wasn't a Luger, he could have picked up some pistol, some semi-auto that, perhaps they arrested a guy that came over on a ship, mm-hmm. and he had a weapon on him, and they put it in a safe, thinking like, what the hell's this thing? Because they're going to be just as clueless as he is, probably.
Yep.
They don't have the internet. And, you know, he grabs it thinking, okay, well, it's a gun. It looks like a gun, and can't figure it out, and so on and so forth. But I mean, I haven't really seen any other definitive evidence of, like, you know, the proliferation of semi-automatic pistols or the Luger or any other ones.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to imagine that with some of those, they were sold commercially, so there has to have been some that made it over.
Yep.
You know, you had like the Borchardt, the C93.
Yep.
And that was 1895.
Though it really wasn't all that popular, was it?
No, I think they only made, let's say, 21,000 built.
Yep.
I mean, that's kind of what led to the Luger. I believe Georg Luger was working with Borchardt, and someone asked him to improve it, and Borchardt refused, and Luger said, hell, I'll do it.
Yep.
And so that resulted in the Luger. But there was another one we were talking about, because you asked, you know, what about Browning? And in 1900, he had the FN Browning 1900. It was the first production handgun to use a slide.
Yep. Yep. John Browning patented the slide.
Designed in 1896, 700,000 made.
Yeah.
Apparently, also Theodore Roosevelt kept one in his bedside drawer and on his person.
Oh yeah. Well, Teddy liked his guns.
Well, Teddy. But I'm surprised. The funny thing is, Teddy was one of the first ones to get the New York Police Department to standardize on a firearm.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder why he didn't choose one of these. Instead, he went with, I believe, a Colt 32 long.
No, that's interesting. With a Colt, since it was a 32 long, I was wondering, what if it's the power level? Because, again, the semi-autos were not doing a whole lot back then, but the revolvers, you could get some pretty stiff loads in them. But if you're going 32 long, they could be. I'm sure it's more powerful than 32 ACP, but could it be that more powerful?
So let's see right here. Things changed in 1895. Theodore, at first, prior to 1895, most law enforcement agencies relied on whatever firearm was available at the time. Departments didn't issue guns, so it was up to each officer to provide their own, whether they were a sheriff, constable, or marshal. They shouldered the expense of their own sidearm. In 1895, Theodore Roosevelt became the president of the New York City Board of Police Commissioners, and he resolved to standardize all the firearms of the department and placed an order for 4,500 Colt new police revolvers. 6-shot double-action revolver chambered in 32 Smith & Wesson long, had black, hard, checkered rubber grips, and available with 2.5, 4, and 6-inch barrels.
Could also just be that, I mean, again, semi-autos were super duper new back then. And also, again, this is the first gun to have a slide. So not only were they new, but the how they worked and the features were very, very novel. So the question is, how much were these cops being trained?
So like a 32 S&W long, you got a 98 grain moving at 718 feet per second. Nothing to sneeze at.
No, but that's on par with 32 ACP.
Right. And then in 1907, they switched to the Colt Police Positive and 38 Special. I think, 38 Special.
It's a little more powerful than 32 ACP, but within striking distance.
We got to have Daniel onto the show to talk about NYPD handguns.
Ooh.
There's a good website talking about, they used Dan Wessons. They used Ruger Police Service 6s. I
love the Dan Wessons.
Man.
That's another one of those guns that, like, you know what? If I see one in a case for a decent price, it doesn't matter. Like, I'll go into debt. I'll run a balance on my credit card if I need to.
So anything else you want to add here before we wrap up? I really want to hear what people. I want to hear about your backup guns. I want to hear about what you would be wearing, obviously. So let's just say, like, you wake up and it's 1899 to 1902. You're in some northeastern city. and you need to go into a gun store and buy yourself some firearms for personal protection. Let's not even say you're out of the frontier. Let's give everybody the option of being close to supply lines, close to, my gun breaks and I need the parts.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of expands it a little bit and allows people to pick, guns that you wouldn't, if you're going out on the range, yeah, let me just get a single action army because I can fix it with a stick.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're in some northeastern city like Philadelphia or Boston, do you want to be, some cowboy, or do you want to wear your little bowler hat, like you said, with a vest and a coat and a shoulder holster? And, can you pick a semi-auto, or will you pick a revolver? Will you pick a semi-auto as your primary and some sort of Smith & Wesson, safety hammerless break top and 38 Smith & Wesson in your boot?
Yep.
It's just interesting. Because it's nice to compare and contrast between what you would pick today as opposed to back in the day, because you only had certain things available.
Mm-hmm.
And like we've discussed, certain things were just coming about. So do you trust them? That's the other question. You have to have the same mindset, because imagine basically that we had no semi-autos and all of a sudden you see them on the market and you're expected to trust them that they'll work when you're so used to revolvers. And we encounter that nowadays. People introduce new models or new concepts of firearms, and it's like, well, is it proven? Do we trust it?
Exactly.
But
new ammunition types. I mean, look at the 327 Federal Magnum.
Right.
Didn't take off. New round. Kind of a cool round.
Right. And luckily it's more with ammunition.
Never took off, because why are we going to do something new? We've got old.
Right. Right. And maybe that was a big stumbling block with people. Why would I pick this newfangled automatic that I don't know if it's going to work when I can just carry a big bore double action revolver and know that it's going to do what I need it to do?
I like the big bore. But though I must say, since you changed it out to I was always thinking on the frontier, where, not only am I worried about shooting people, but, I'm bears and deer and buffalo and things like that. But if I'm if I'm in Boston in 1899, I might be going more towards a safety hammerless. I might be going more for something that can be deployed quickly and fast, and will send reasonable rounds, but I'm mostly going after two-legged game.
Yeah, but you're wearing a shoulder holster, so you can carry a big ass gun in the shoulder holster.
Yeah. So the safety hammerless might be my backup, though, because they're awesome. Yeah. So then, but I might go more for like the Colt Lightning or some other the early double action revolvers.
So send those descriptions in. We'll group them all together, and once we have all of them, we'll read them on the show. And then afterwards, we'll put them in in a hat, and I'll have Weird pick or something, and we'll send something out to you.
Hooray!
So excellent. With that, we'll head into the wrap-up section and close out the show. Don't forget to shop Brownells using our affiliate link. Head to firearmsradio.tv and click the affiliate link in the upper right-hand corner. Be sure to go like Handgun Radio on Facebook and share it with your friends, and leave us a review on iTunes. Be sure to visit the Firearms Insider for reviews and more awesome content. And be sure to check out the Firearms Radio Network on YouTube. And Weird, as always, thank you very much. And where can people find you?
You can find me at my blog, which is weirdworld.com. And you can also hear me on the Assorted Calibers podcast.
Become a Patreon.
That's right. Become a Patreon. You get good stuff. You get bloopers. We just did a film track for Thanksgiving, which I had not seen. I intentionally went into it.
MFer.
Yeah, and said, you know what? I want people to hear my reaction to seeing this movie for the first time. And man, you don't even need to become a patron. Go see Thanksgiving. Awesome movie. But if you want to watch it with me and a few of the people on the Assorted Calibers podcast, you know what? That's the film tracks. They're really fun to do.
Excellent. So yeah, be sure to go check that out. There are links in the show notes. So as always, thank you very much, Weird.
Well, thanks, Ryan. I like being on. Oh, also another statement is I talk about you behind your back in the blooper reels.
Oh, great. Well, until next week, have fun and safe shooting.